It begins without a sound, a shift so subtle the world misses it completely. You're just a kid, maybe 8 years old, looking at a guardian who is coming undone. It could be despair, it could be rage, or perhaps it's just the crushing absence of a person too wounded to be present. And in that silence, a primal part of your young mind makes a decision. The stability of this world rests on my small shoulders. This is how a child vanishes. Not from the room, but from themselves. They become quieter. They stop showing their hurt. They master the art of gauging a mood before they make a sound. They turn into the emotional anchor for the entire home. They become miniature grown-ups long before their hearts are prepared. And society commends them for it. You're so capable. You're so reliable. You're so resilient. But nobody pauses to wonder, what was the price? This is the hidden sorrow of the child who had to mature too soon. And in this discussion, we're exploring the inner world of that young person. Because the consequences don't fade when you turn 18. They live within you. They trail you into your friendships, your work, your fundamental sense of value. And if you never grasp the mechanics of what occurred, you'll live your mature years reenacting the very strategies that once kept you safe, but now drain your spirit. Let's begin with the developmental reality. When kids are compelled to provide emotional stability for their parents instead of receiving it, experts label this parentification. It's when a young one becomes the nurturer, the negotiator, the counselor, the defender. This isn't merely unproductive. It fundamentally restructures the mind. When a child is regularly tasked with managing feelings, their own or someone else's, it forges a state of constant alertness. You are perpetually watching for threats. You are constantly trying not to upset the balance. You are taught that affection is a deal. You offer calm, and perhaps you'll receive security in return. You learn that your own desires are a liability, while theirs are an emergency. So you fade, not in body, but in spirit. And what grows in your place is a persona that functions perfectly. You become the easy child, the silent success, the go-to confidant, the person who never makes a demand. And you wear that disguise so well that even you start to believe it's real. But underneath the surface, a pain endures. A deep ache persists because the young self you hid away didn't vanish. They are still inside, shouting without a voice, "Why was I left alone?" As you age, the manifestations grow more intricate. You might become fiercely self-reliant. You decline support, create distance, or never fully believe you are secure in a relationship. You might feel detached during good times because happiness seems strange, unmerited, or even risky. You might find it impossible to relax because being productive is the only way you've ever felt valid. And most painfully, you might not even recognize you're still operating from a place of pure survival. Because when turmoil is your early normal, your entire body learns to treat chaos as its resting state. Tranquility feels incorrect, serenity feels untrustworthy, and love feels like a loan you'll someday owe. This is the inner reality of a child pressured to advance too quickly. It's not simply grief. It's a layered pain that reconstructs your entire worldview and, most crucially, your self-view. Now, you might wonder, why would any young person voluntarily accept that position? The answer is simple. Children will trade anything for connection, even their own truth. The decision is never a thoughtful one. It's a matter of survival. In an environment lacking protection, the child trades selfhood for attachment. That isn't a flaw. It's brilliance. It's a deep biological wisdom. But the heartbreaking irony is this: the very thing that protected you in the past becomes your cage in the present. So many of us move through life as highly capable adults with profoundly unseen inner children directing the show. We excel to feel worthy of affection. We stay quiet to prevent being left. We look after everybody, all while secretly hoping someone will simply check if we're all right. And that daydream, that fantasy that someone will finally see the fragility behind your strength, that perhaps you'll be allowed to finally break down and be cared for. That is the unanswered longing, not of your adult self, but of the child who never got to be young. The initial move toward mending isn't about solutions. It's about acknowledgement. Because until you name what happened, you'll keep dismissing your own pain. You'll tell yourself it could have been worse. Others suffered more. I'm okay. But okay is just another disguise. And in your core, you feel the difference. So what becomes of that child in adulthood? They become grown-ups who never feel secure, even in peaceful spaces. They become partners who can't believe in tenderness. They become helpers who cannot accept support. They become the sort of person who says sorry for their tears, tenses at praise, and mistakes wariness for accomplishment. This is the toll of accelerating through youth. Because if your early years conditioned you to be tough instead of vulnerable, to be polite instead of real, to repair others while neglecting your own broken parts, then what kind of life do you build? You build an existence where you're perpetually waiting, hoping for a sign that it's finally safe to stop being strong. But here is the reality. Nobody is arriving to save the child you left behind. You are the one who must return and offer your hand. You are the one who must speak the words you needed to hear. You shouldn't have had to face that. You were only small. You are allowed to stop now. This is the dawn of inner work. Not solving, not achieving, not pretending the hurt doesn't exist with hollow optimism, but facing the exiled pieces of yourself and stating, I am here with you now. I am listening, and I will not walk away. That is the journey back to yourself. And it is arduous, because it requires you to process the mourning you never had space for. It asks you to be present with the fury, the sadness, the dreams that never came true. To grieve for the celebrations where you felt invisible. To mourn the purity you sacrificed while shielding people who were meant to shield you. But that mourning, it isn't a sign of failure. It's evidence that you're mending. Because what was once locked away is finally being released. Now, let's examine how these survival instincts appear in your adult life, quietly, painfully, and often unseen. You might become the counselor in every social circle, yet never allow anyone close enough to know you. You might be admired for your self-sufficiency when internally you're afraid of needing anything. You might find yourself in partnerships where you overperform, constantly solving, organizing, justifying, and then questioning why you feel used. You might find it difficult to set limits because a simple no still feels like a profound disloyalty. These are not character flaws. They are protective measures, acquired, ingrained, and the hopeful part is they can be released, but only when you stop glorifying your endurance and start tending to your injuries. One of the most profound actions you can take is to ask your younger self, what did I need back then that I never received? You might hear responses like, I needed to be told the fault wasn't mine. I needed someone to see my struggle. I needed to be silly, to pause, to be joyful without a shadow of worry. And gradually, you start to provide those very things for yourself. Not to erase your history, but to stop being trapped by it. This is how you cease looking for caretakers in your romantic life. This is how you stop confusing fear with your inner voice. This is how you stop fleeing from the child you were and welcome the person you were meant to become. Carl Jung once observed, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. But this deep work insists we confront it. All of it. The forgotten, the embarrassed, the frightened, the furious. Because healing isn't about creating a new identity. It's about rediscovering who you were before life forced you into a role. So if you are someone who rushed through their youth, understand this. Your capability was never the issue. The issue was that it was demanded, not chosen. But today, you have agency. You can choose gentleness. You can choose to pause. You can choose to stop curating the feelings of others and start respecting your own. And no, it will not be instantaneous. There will be moments you feel small again. Excellent. That's the goal. Let that young one return. Let them express their sorrow. Let them be frivolous. Let them be truly recognized because you are not damaged. You are returning to completeness. And perhaps for the first time, you are finally maturing in the right way. Not under duress, not from anxiety, but through genuine understanding. you missed your early years, but your story is still being written. And this time, you hold the pen. And if this exploration resonated with you, please support this work by liking this video and following the channel Wings of Thought for more journeys into understanding.